Hello and welcome to the top 8 of Apex Con's $5,000 Team Trios Modern Qualifier here at the Apex Gaming home store in Caldwell, Ohio. I'm Ross Merriam, and joining me in the booth is Corey Baumeister.
What's up?
Corey, huge event today.
Yeah.
44 teams.
Yeah.
We are down to 8.
Gotta love it. Just a solid 24 players remain here in the elimination rounds. And, the records to get to the top 8. Usually it's pretty much everyone in that last round's drawing if you're at X and 1. That was not the case here. Some of those X and 1s had to earn it.
Yeah, it was a case where there were a lot of draws earlier in the event, which happens in team events.
Things tend to slow down. Yeah,
Yep.
that's for sure.
And so too many teams at 3-1-1, the 4-1s weren't safe. And so we've narrowed it down to the 8 teams remaining after that last round of Swiss. No beating around the bush here. Let's just get into it. The match that we're going to be showing you here in the quarterfinals is between our 2 seed and our 7 seed.
Yep.
The 2 seed here is the team of William Russell, Matt Sims, and Gabriel Roberts. This team lost the finals yesterday in Standard, so they're right back here in the elimination rounds trying to do one better and punch their ticket to the Apex Invitational in November. William Russell on Domain Zoo, Matt Sims on Eldrazi Ramp, and Gabriel Roberts on Is It Affinity. Their opponents in this quarterfinal round will be Casey Ryback, Andrew Wolthus, and Kyle Montgomery, playing Living End, Hollow One, and Is It Prowess, respectively.
All right, those are some wild decks.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, the whole modern field that we had here, modern kind of in general, got to play whatever you want. We got a lot of unique decks in the top 8.
24 decks overall,
Yeah.
8 teams of 3 players apiece,
Yeah.
16 unique archetypes, plus 2 more that are 4 copies apiece. There's 16 singletons in the 24 decks.
And I'm guessing Boros for the 4 copies kind of thing?
Boros and Affinity. A lot of Affinity in this top 8. So that's a deck that did quite well in a couple different builds. With Robert's build that is more focused on Cutter and Vivi.
Yep.
And then there's the build that we saw Gabe Abadi play the last couple rounds.
Which I like a lot.
Yeah, that is playing Pinnacle Emissary. There's 2 people on that build that is Jeskai, plays Portable Hole, even more explosive with spamming artifacts, playing a few more actual Affinity cards.
Yeah, definitely our style of deck, that's for sure. Give us some Mox Opal decks that are playable. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. So the match that we're going to be starting with on camera in the top 8 is going to be the match between William Russell and Casey Ryback. Yeah. This is Domain Zoo against Living End. Now, Corey, normally Living End, very good against creature decks.
Yeah, anything that is hinting at creatures, aka Zoo, is almost always just a very straightforward creature deck, and kind of the litmus test when you're playing and thinking about how your matchup is against Zoo. Can you beat the Scion Leyline combo? If the answer is yes, your matchup is probably okay. That's somewhat true here, but with Living End here with that Cascade trigger going on the stack, the multiple consigns that William's playing in the main and the board, and, consigns that are just everywhere in every single blue player's sideboard, plus the Stubborn Denials, make this matchup a lot closer, I would say.
I completely agree. There's 2 Consign to Memory, 2 Stubborn Denial in the main deck for William Russell, 2 more Consigns, and a 3rd stub in the sideboard. So 4 counters in the main, 7 total in the 75. That combined with a fast clock from Ragavan, Scion of Draco, Territorial Kavu could really spell trouble for Casey Ryback.
Yeah, especially Ragavan. Ragavan has always been the card that I want turn 1 against Living End because it is going to connect for a lot of turns, and it's going to give you that mana advantage that you need to hustle out your spells. So, yeah, Ragavan, we're going to be looking for those on turn 1.
Okay, interesting matchup between these 2 players. They are ready in the feature match area, so let's head on down there and get the quarterfinals underway. Okay, just getting the right match here. And our players are off. So William Russell on your right, Casey Ryback on your left. Russell's team, the 2 seeds, so they will all be on the play here in the game 1s. And a double Leyline of the Guild Pact start for William Russell. Very scary right off the bat, but no Ragavan.
Yeah, you usually don't want 2 of them. But, there are some corner cases where there's some artifact enchantment removal. In this case, there really isn't a lot. You have Sink in the Stupor plus Beseiju as the only way to deal with one of them. But, the only other reason you want to really keep those around is if you have cards like Fable the Mirror Breaker, where you can discard that redundant copy. But, hey, 2 is still better than 0.
Yeah, just play around that Boseiju, play around a sink, make sure these ley lines stick around, or at least one of them, so your Scion of Dracos are that much more powerful. Okay, Thundering Falls, the turn 1 fetch for William Russell, so Leyline Binding goes to the graveyard. That's probably his worst card in the matchup, I have to think.
Yeah, I would think so. And a bit of a train wreck there. That was the one lander keeping on the back of the surveilled a card to the yard and did not hit land 2. That's not ideal.
That's what we call an oof.
That's a big oof. That is a big oof. But hey, if you have Scion of Draco and you have some counter spells to back it up, I'm keeping that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's kind of hard for William Russell to even deploy a threat. Once the Living End deck gets to 3 mana, they can cast that namesake card, and you have to have a counterspell at the ready.
Yeah. Yeah, immediately. Because even just, getting your Scion of Draco destroyed and getting back this 4/4 and this 3/4, that's enough. That's a solid 3-for-1.
Okay, William Russell does find a second land, but looks like a mountain. So with the Thundering Falls, not a good pairing, but the Leyline undoes that. So any second land, perfectly fine. Meanwhile, Ryback on the other side, just doing a bit of cycling with these Curative Mysteries and the Street Wraith, though notably now down to 12 because of a bolt sent at his face. Fat Shock, Street Wraith, bolt, already 8 damage.
But hey, Death Shadow's online. Oh, wait, no, wrong deck. That's right.
Okay, Windcaller Avon now cycled for Casey Ryback with the Soporific Springs, and a third land found for William Russell in that Arid Mesa, but no play, interestingly, on 3 mana. Would have loved to have seen something like Territorial Kavu or Scion of Draco holding up a mana representing a potential counterspell.
Yeah, you got to think, what else is William have in hand? I mean, number one could easily be Consign, and we just don't have the threat. So got that out of there.
There is Consign on a Cascade trigger from Shardless Agent, so the Agent will stick around, but no Cascade into the Living End for Ryback. And then William Russell sacrifices Arid Mesa. This will likely get Lush Portico, and there it is.
Looks like another Shardless Agent ready to go from Casey for next turn. Now, there's no way you can interact with the Living End in such a way where you can keep it exiled, right? Like, that trigger does not go on the stack.
No, it's all part of the resolution
right?
of the trigger is finding the Living End and casting it.
Yeah,
too.
okay. So if you can get enough of those going on, you could strand all the Living Ends or something like that. But, not all works.
If Casey had drawn one naturally, there's 3 in the deck. If you're able to strand 2, that would be nice.
Yeah, because it's when it comes off suspend, then you can strand them. But yeah, different interactions there. So that is the one brutal aspect is William can keep countering these cascade effects over and over and over again, but the Living Ends do remain in the deck. So eventually, you really got to treat those consigns from William as tempo plays. You need to be doing something and buy your time with consigns on these cascades. When you're just countering it, Casey's deck is great at churning through and eventually finding one.
Finding another, yeah, I completely agree. And we've talked about this with the Domain Zoo deck. Not a deck with a lot of card selection and card advantage, so he's not going to really keep up in that aspect of the game. So definitely needs to be the one applying pressure, and right now he is not.
Well, this is 3 damage. There's some pressure. Send it upstairs. The one thing I will say, all jokes aside, are down to 6 here for Casey. And I will say that Living End, when it resolves, of course, your creatures are gone. That's a big problem. But they don't win on the spot. So William then does have that timer, maybe 1 turn, maybe 2 turns, where he can then find a Tribal Flames or 2 or Flage from the graveyard and try to finish the game off that way.
Yeah, Ryback's already down to 9 here. Russell low on resources, but if there's a Living End that comes from Ryback, that Flage will re-enter. It won't stay around, but it'll deal another 3 damage, put Ryback to 6, and that's in a very dangerous territory.
Yeah, and then Flage, you can escape down to 3. So, William would be pretty happy, as always, to surveil a Flage into the yard like you are all the time in every deck in Modern, but it's especially spicy in this scenario.
Okay, here's a Scion of Draco for William Russell. This might require some sort of response.
Ah, the whale.
Wicker of Waves gets activated, so top 2 cards, that's Island Ardent Plea. And Casey takes the island. No, thinks again.
Does have Shardless Agent as well already. Takes it again just in case there is another Stubborn Denial or Consign. Now, Stubborn Denial is gone.
So takes the Ardent Plea, so he hasn't a blue card to pitch to this subtlety.
Yeah. So the thing I would like to do from William is put it on top because you have a fetch land, and then you can make that choice later if you want to put it on the bottom or not. As you know, if we don't see a living end, that 4/4 body, let's say if William does have a Stubborn Denial in hand, could be excellent. But you at least give yourself the option.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that too, but Russell sends it to the bottom. Now we're back to Ryback's turn. The Shardless Agent comes across. Russell will drop to 15, I believe.
And not playing Shardless Agent here. You know, because that's the thing. The Stubborn Denial still works in this scenario as a good old Force Spike.
So maybe Ryback waiting. That's why he initially took that fourth land off the Waker waves, but realized he needed the blue card even more. So now has to wait even more time before he can deploy these backup copies of Living End to make sure they resolve.
So pretty clear that if we don't have anything else going on, we can at least bring that Flage back from the graveyard. Not the best play, though, because, you know, if it's in play, Living End does deal with it. Oh, that is a nice one, though. Upkeep, get rid of the graveyard. No more Flage shenanigans. Makes a lot of sense why Casey didn't go for the Living End here. Already had a very solid play.
Yeah, and this will put some more pressure on Russell. Endurance with 3 power creatures, so this is almost a 3-turn clock.
This could also be the, oh, what are you at? 10 double tribal flames. Probably not with William pausing here.
Okay, no play for William Russell. Ryback untaps, sends the creatures in. Russell goes down to 10. So it is a 3-turn clock because of the fetch for William Russell. No, he's at 11. Okay. Spotter just
Made us sweat.
I just added a point.
Yep. And yeah, that's the nice thing about these Living End decks is, you know, they can win with medium beats while your opponent is fully dealing with, you know, the Living End ability, maybe with Chalice effects or has a bunch of counterspells wrapped up ready to go. Most of the time, they're not ready to deal with flash 3/4 creatures, and you can kind of win that way.
Here's a dashed Ragavan. Gets bounced by Colossal Sky Turtle. So Ryback really going to extreme lengths to stop any future damage, try to keep himself out of burn range.
Okay, it's back. Now let's see what William has. Maybe I get the vibe of a Stubborn Denial, you know, like I get that vibe, but of course, who knows? Where if Casey has land 4, I would imagine Casey's going to go for it, but also is probably just plenty happy getting in there for 5 every turn and kind of making that work.
Just going to get in for 3 with the Endurance. It still retains a 2-turn clock, but also leaves him a blocker back to trade for the Ragavan.
Yep. No mana advantage for William, even though pretty clear mana isn't the big problem here, as William has not been mana efficient every single turn by any means.
Okay, Leyline Binding on the end step for Russell, trying to clear a path for the Ragavan. Ryback says no with a Force Negation.
Okay. Sign of Draco or something could make that Ragavan fly.
Oh, Ragavan comes in and trades with the Shardless Agent. So battlefield simplify, and there's a Territorial Kavu.
Okay, that's the real deal. If you can back it up with a Stubborn Denial or something.
You know, the brakes are on Casey Ryback in the red zone. Endurance now being trumped on the battlefield by a 5/5.
Yep. So this feels like, all right, it's time to get busy.
Yeah, now at this point, the 4th land doesn't even help.
William's just like, you got it. You got it. I just needed to see it. The old Living End was going to clean that up pretty nicely. Led me to believe that the 1 card in hand was not Tribal Flames.
Yeah, or Stubborn Denial.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, game 1 goes to Living End. Really, the Zoo player just unable to apply a lot of pressure in that game. So that's going to be, I think, key for the post sideboard.
And hitting your second land drop.
Yes.
That's probably a big aspect as well.
What will also be key is our player's sideboard. So let's turn to those, Corey. Looking at William Russell's down a game, I see 1 Celestial Purge, the 3rd and 4th copies of Consigned to Memory, 1 Doorkeeper Thrall, 2 Mystical Dispute, 1 Nile Spellbomb, 2 Pyroclasm, 1 Spell Snare, the 3rd Stubborn Denial, 2 Wear Tear, and 2 Wrath of the Skies. What do you like?
Pretty self-explanatory cards here. I like the Stubborn Denial. I like the other consigns to counter the Cascade triggers, as well as the Nile Spellbomb to be able to clean up the graveyard. That looks really solid as well. Outside of that, I am not a fan of much. Leyline Bindings look pretty medium in the main, as well as Lightning Bolts, always fine. Couple Tribal Flames, you can always consider taking out some of your burn. Leave in your 4 Regavans. Ideally, bring in 4 more. That's the card you really want when you're on the play. Just have one of those against Living End, and your day gets made a little bit easier. But that's all I'm bringing in here from William's side.
Okay, and then for Casey Ryback, there's 1 Ashiok Dreamrender, 3 Clarion Conqueror, 1 Deafening Silence, 2 Force of Vigor, 1 Foundation Breaker, 2 Inevitable Betrayal, 3 Mystical Dispute, and 2 Teferi Time Raveler. What do you like from his side?
Okay, this one's a little bit more interesting. I don't think this seems like a Inevitable Betrayal matchup. I don't think I'm too excited about that, but I like the Teferis to be able to counter your opponent's plethora of counter spells that they're bringing in against you. I actually think I like the Force of Vigor and Foundation Breaker as well, as you can just deal with these Scions, deal with the ley lines. You know, the ley lines maybe aren't the biggest deal, but if you can really destroy them after your opponent hasn't been paying too much attention to their mana base, maybe they're fetching lands just to surveil, and if you can destroy them, maybe all of a sudden their mana base isn't ideal. That might be okay, but I could see either way on those cards.
Okay. While our players finish shuffling for game 2, I will shout out our sponsors, starting with Mox Field, a great place to build deck lists, to share deck lists, and that's where all of our deck lists are as well. So thank you to them. We couldn't run these tournaments without Mox Field. We also couldn't run these tournaments without SpiceRack.gg, the tournament software where we run our events, and a great place for you as a player to find events. If you're an organizer, you can run events on them, and they help keep your events running smoothly and quickly. I gotta say, you know, we started this event at 11. We're 6.5 hours in. We ran 6 rounds of Swiss. We're running a tight ship.
Yeah.
Tight ship this weekend at Apex
That's real
Con.
nice. Real nice.
Okay, next, Ultimate Guard, the industry leader in gaming sleeves and supplies, from the Katana sleeves to the Archive deck box. Check your local game store for Ultimate Guard products today. And last, but certainly not least, Once Upon a Galaxy. Big shout out to them. This is a brand new auto battler from some of the greatest minds in Magic's history, a real all-star cast behind this game. This is also the team that brought you Storybook Brawl, so if that's a game that you really liked, I encourage you to check out Once Upon a Galaxy. It's available in your app stores now on mobile, and if you're more of a PC gamer, it will be available on Steam in early August. So be sure to check it out when it goes live there. Get it on your wish list, and you'll be first in line to download that and start playing on the PC.
Okay. I did enjoy some Storybook Brawl. I had some fun with it. I was not very good at it, you know. I already...
So just like Magic.
Exactly. I already auto-battle in Magic, you know, just auto-pilot, you know, just kind of do what my deck does. And, yeah, it turns out that skill set, not great in auto-battlers as well. But, ooh, look at this.
Very
That's
strong
the start you want.
William Russell with a turn 0 Leyline of the Guild Pact and a turn 1 Ragavan. Looks like it's getting subtletied. And then a Force of Vigor on the Leyline?
That is correct. For better or worse.
Okay.
That was a 4 for 2, except one of the cards you get back, so yikes.
Okay, a turn 1 Mistrise Village is the land for Casey Ryback, so...
Well, that's a nice one, too.
It's a little awkward in this one. It's very good at forcing through your Teferi. It is not good at forcing through Living End, because it's only the next spell you play this turn, and that would be the Ardent Plea or the Shardless Agent.
Well, to be fair, like with your Cascade on the stack, then you do this. It does not protect you against Consign, but it would still protect you against Stubborn Denial. Is that correct?
Oh, good point. Good point. Fancy sequencing, and then you can protect your Living End. Okay. Yeah. You'll need to get to land 5, which might be tough when he's down 4 cards on turn 1.
Yeah, when you just casually mulligan to 3 to start off your game 2 here. Well, of course, subtlety. Delaying Regavan is important. The Force of Vigor, maybe less than important, but still reasonable. The thing about this matchup, and just Regavan against Living End in general, while it is awesome, your hits are always bad. But it's the mana advantage that you get is always great.
Yeah, that mana advantage is huge. It will allow Russell to be as aggressive as he wants to be in deploying his threats while still always having counterspell mana up.
Yeah.
This looks like a magic card.
I was going to say Megatron, which was my guess based on picture alone, but that doesn't seem right. I'm going to guess Scion of Draco.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well.
Yeah, I still think I might go with Megatron, though.
Okay, here is a Cascade trigger from a Shardless agent, so it has to be a Stubborn Denial if William Russell wants to stop this. If there's no counterspell, then he's going to lose both creatures. Very quickly picks up his hand. Stubborn Denial stops the living end. Now down to one card is Russell, so that might be his only counterspell, in which case another Cascader would go a long way for Casey Ryback.
I've now seen that version of Scion of Draco, and I still don't know what it is. I guess it's a big metal dragon.
Sure.
It's cool art, though.
It's Megatron.
Yeah, all right. I was right the first
It is
time.
literally Calvin Johnson, former wide receiver for the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
There's a Flage for William Russell. That'll take out the Shardless agent, so Ragavan can get through, along with the Scion of Draco. And he finds Teferi, but doesn't have enough mana.
No. Well, wait. You're getting another treasure. Have we played a land yet?
I think... Ooh.
Oh,
Maybe?
my goodness.
Either way, doesn't have it. That is the dream hit off Ragavan in these matchups.
Yeah. I mean, the dream is to just play Teferi of your own and Ragavan into your own Teferi on turn 2 and, completely end the game.
When you do it with their Teferi, it feels much better.
Way worse. Yeah.
I did it to Brian Koval once. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Just turn 1 Ragavan, turn 2. Ooh, I'll cast that one.
I bet you boshed and rolled into the next game.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Casey Ryback down to 12 from that last attack. So this is a 2-turn clock right now, and he does nothing but filter through his deck on this turn. So William Russell can find one more counterspell. I think this game might be locked up.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with you as well.
If Ryback does have land 5, though, then that Mysterized Village might come into play.
Yeah, that's true. But does William hit Teferi too? What? What is that? Is it a Lorien revealed, maybe?
I don't know. Oh, I think that's the one press the enemy. That's another way for Casey to cast a living end. You bounce you bounce a spell or permanent. It's unsubstantiate, but then you can cast an instant or sorcery with less mana value
from your hand.
Yeah,
if you
so you have to have
living end.
Yeah, you have to have living end in hand.
Cool.
It's a one-of in these living end decks.
Okay.
No play from Ryback though. We'll need some sort of blocker, like an endurance.
Yeah, subtlety maybe is a solid play to jump in front of Ragavan, take 4, and try to go from there.
And this looks like a Sink into Stupor.
Yep, that would make sense to me.
So that bounces the Scion of Draco. Ryback falls to 4 from the Ragavan, and William Russell hits a Windcaller Aven.
You sure can play that if you really want to.
Can't cycle it from exile, unfortunately.
No. Yeah, a little Modern Horizon, I would say draft chaff, but that card was probably all right. How bad can a 1-mana cycler be in limited,
True.
So 4 is definitely not 0, but with Flage being in the yard, living end to bring back the Flage, put Casey down to 1, and then Flage being able to escape again is probably good enough. That being said, there's a couple things that Casey can do. Number 1, you get the food off the Generous Ent. You could sack that to gain yourself some life. Or if there's an Endurance, you can Endurance away the Flage.
Okay, interesting here. William Russell had 4 treasures, decided to sack 2 of them to play the Scion of Draco. Leave all 4 of his lands untapped.
That is interesting. I'm not thinking of a reason why to do that.
Okay, maybe we'll see. Ryback has the second copy of Teferi, so that will bounce the Scion of Draco, meaning that the Ragavan no longer represents lethal damage. There could be, I guess the Flage does, though.
Yeah.
As long as this is a Surveil land to get a 5th card in the graveyard.
Yeah, you would think that would be good enough. As there's only 2 cards in hand, looks like Subtlety, and can't get a good look at the rest.
Subtlety would stop the Flage, but then put it back on top.
Yeah, if there is even another blue card. Not for sure.
Looks like Casey Ryback just doesn't have the resources he needs to close out this game. William Russell gonna level this match at 1 apiece.
I mean, when you throw 4 cards out there on turn 1, you are going to be light resource. Not saying it was incorrect by any means, but, there's definitely a cost to double pitch spelling on turn number 1.
Okay, Ragavan goes after Casey's life total, not the Teferi. So another treasure coming, and that's a Waker of Waves. Castable card.
Yeah? Oh,
okay, there's
come on.
the Flage.
Thought we were going to see some whale action here. No such luck. So I'm wondering if we want to keep in Force of Vigor, because, it's fine there, but the one thing it can never do, it can never hit Scion and Leyline of the Guild Pack. And you got to think your opponent is taking out Leyline Binding, so it doesn't seem good enough to me. I think I'd just rather have the Foundation Breaker instead of the Force.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. There's also Fables, so you can get a 2-for-1 that way.
It is nice dealing with Fable before you can discard some Flages or other creatures and get into the yard, because that is the low-key way to kind of deal with Living End, is if you can just manage to get a good amount of creatures in your board, like, you can get some work done. And let's say you got 2 Scion of Dracos in the yard and 1 Leyline of the Guild Pack in play. I mean, if your opponent does just Living End and you get that back, the medium cycling creatures usually can't get through 8 First Strike Lifelink,
Yeah, I would tend to agree. That could be a problem. There's 4 copies of Endurance in the Living End deck, though.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
They have ways around that. I think the Force of Vigors, I wonder if there's some equity in surprising Casey Ryback, or surprising William Russell, excuse me, by killing treasures on the end step. If he leaves up that as mana for stub, and you can, catch him and resolve your Living End now with no mana left.
Maybe that's why William was sacking those treasures instead of using the lands.
Yeah. Heads up play.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, our players have shuffled up. We are ready for game 3.
Big game.
See whose team can take the first blood, pull ahead in this quarterfinal team trios match. Casey Ryback going to be on the play. I see a Misty Rainforest at the front of the hand. Can't make out anything else.
And William asking his teammates, so per Ross's advice, you got to ship that one, no matter what.
Can't ask and keep.
That's why I just don't ask and keep.
For the 3rd time today, Corey, I'm never teaming with you.
All right.
It just only sounds worse and worse. Hey, Russell, disciplined mulligan.
Ooh, now that's someone you want on your team.
Yeah, I will snap off William Russell.
Back-to-back top 8s. Oh, yeah. Can mulligan in, really intense moments. That's a player you want on your squad.
Okay, looks like Ryback kept his 7, so he'll be up a card to start this game. That might be helpful if he has another double pitch hand.
Yeah. Now we'll only be down 3 cards after turn 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Casey being on the play here is a really big deal as well, because that subtlety play on Ragavan, when you're on the draw, it's like you shrug it off and you're like, yeah, no problem. Next turn I'm going to dash it at you. But when you're on the draw and you play that Ragavan, like all of a sudden, maybe you can't just play Ragavan, say go with a tap land or something, as it's already Living End territory.
Yeah, that turn 3 being the critical turn is a big difference play versus draw.
I did see the subtlety from Casey, so we'll see if we see any Ragavan action, and doesn't look like it. I mean, whenever there's no pressure from these aggressive decks, air quotes aggressive decks, and Living End just gets to kind of dance around their plays, Living End just looks like an incredible deck. But when they're under pressure and you can tempo them out, that's when the deck looks very, very measured.
They spend 3 turns digging through their deck with Waker Waves and Cyclers, and you're just like, why did you put those cards in your deck again?
Yeah.
And like you said, play draw going to loom large without the turn 1 Ragavan. It's hard for William Russell to tap out for a Scion or Territorial Cavo. Even if he's guaranteed that there's no subtlety, which we know there is, that's a hard tap out to make. So then you're waiting until turn 3 to hold up a counter spell. Well, then Casey Ryback can just subtlety it then. Now, if you have Stubborn Denial and not consign,
Yeah.
Casey's going to land 4, and your stub isn't even good.
Yeah, and that is why Ragavan is so good, because if you have a 1-drop on 1, you play it every time. That's when you're under the living end aspects, player draw. But then on turn 2, the only thing you can do is play 1-drop, say go, with a counterspell available. And if you didn't have it on turn 1, you probably don't have it on turn 2 type thing.
Yep. Okay, Curator of Mysteries and Generous Ent are the cycles for Casey Ryback, so filling up his graveyard nicely. Meanwhile, William Russell just fetching on the end step for a Thundering Falls. So without a Leyline of the Guild Pact to start this game, Russell going to have to be careful about which lands he fetches. This iteration of Domain Zoo really likes to have an Izzet land and a Selesnya land. That way your green and red are separate for Territorial Kavu, your red and white are separate for Flage, and Wear Tear if that's in your deck. And you still have your 4 types, which is kind of like the minimum to really turn on your deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually that, or you go with the Triome and then the matching Surveil land. We see that a lot,
Yeah.
but as we kind of expected, if you don't have anything on turn 1, you can't have anything on turn 2.
Yeah, so Casey, under no pressure, just plays Boseiju, passes the turn back. William Russell going to fetch his Wooded Foothills, likely find Lush Portico here to get that Izzet Selesnya pairing.
Yeah, and then Casey's just
goes
like...
for the Endatha Triumph, so wants full domain rather than a Surveil.
Leads me to believe that we're probably going to see Scion with 1 mana left open and see what's going on there. And there's a certain subset of draws that William can have in that scenario, aka just Stubborn Denial, where Casey can just wreck him with the Subtlety play on the Scion, and then whether you put it top or bottom, then you probably go for it from the Living End player. Now you're playing around 4 cards instead of 7.
Yeah, consign would still be a problem, but with if you
always
have
is.
land 4, yeah.
Yeah.
So really critical to see whether Russell has consign of memory and whether Ryback has land 4.
Yeah, but first and foremost, William has to get on the board, has to have some pressure, does not.
Whew. So no plays for 3 turns for William Russell. A rough mulligan hand here in game 3.
Yeah.
And you can see it on his face there.
It's nighttime at the zoo. Animals are asleep.
They've had a long day.
Yeah.
Defecating their hands and flinging it at zoo visitors.
Ross has that in common.
Hey, it's honest work.
You can't be commentating all the time. You got to do your side hustles here and there.
Okay, Soporific Springs Untapped is the land for Casey Ryback on turn 4. Decides not to go for any Cascader. Maybe doesn't have one. But now with the untapped 4th land, might have a hard cast Subtlety here.
Yep.
Could start getting the pressure going that way.
Yeah, basically nothing in Williams' deck can counter the Subtlety itself unless we brought in the Disputes. Which maybe, it's not the absolute worst thing. When your opponent's playing to fairies, having a Dispute is still good, but...
Okay, here's Waker of Waves activated on the end step for Ryback because there is still no play from Russell that he has to respond to.
It's just like, you know what? I can't put any pressure. Or
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the
friends
teams.
yeah, that would be a bit of a tilt scoop there. And that would lead me to believe if Williams extending that hand, both of Williams' teammates might have lost.
Yeah.
We'll get some confirmation here. But wow. Anticlimactic finish there because, well, of course, when your matches finish off camera, not much you can do. But also, just there was no action in this game, So, not a lot of action to be had there. That's for sure.
No, things were not looking very good for William Russell, but certainly have a decisive result.
Yeah. Which closest to us. Okay. Yep. So, Team Amazing Shirts and Hats takes it down. As,
their team name is actually Team Talk Tua Electric Boogaloo.
Okay. Yeah. Can't argue with that. And the other team was two good decks. So that's up for debate. What were the 2 good decks?
We certainly didn't see him. William Russell's deck did not give him the goods.
Yeah,
We saw the bad half of the Zoo deck in games 1 and 3. So maybe we're talking about the Zoo deck in game 2. That was the good deck.
Good game 2 decks. Okay. That whatever. That's only a third of your games, but we don't argue here. But congrats to the Talk Tua Electric Boogaloo. God, I hope I never have to say that again.
They're definitely winning this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to say
That's
that
a lie.
over and over and over
Yeah.
again. That is going to do it for our quarterfinal coverage. We have 3 matches still going off camera. So we're going to let them finish up. We'll take a break, and then Todd and I will come back and cover the semifinals. We're getting closer and closer to crowning a champion and punching 3 players' tickets to the Apex Invitational in November. So we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.